यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरा फलचारी यमुनातीरा फलचारी यमुनातीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय राधा गोविंद राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव श्री प्रभुपाद की जय हो Hare Krishna. Then pranam to all devotees. Today I am going to do Emana Durmati by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai ho. Emana Durmati संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी ए मन दुर्मति संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी तव निज जान कोन महाजने तव निज जान कोन महाजने पाठाइया दिले तुमी ए मन दुर्मति संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी दया करी मोरे पतित देखिया दया करी मोरे पतित देखिया कहिलो आमारे गिया ओहे दीन जान शुन भालो कथा ओहे दीन जान शुन भालो कथा उल्लासित बेहिया हे मन दुर्मति संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी तुम्हारे तारीते श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य तुम्हारे तारीते श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य नवद्वीपे अवतार तुम्हें न कत दिनहीन जने तुम्हें न कत दिनहीन जने करिले न भव पार हे मन दुर्मति संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी वेदेरा प्रतिज्ञा राखी भारत रे वेदेरा प्रतिज्ञा राखी भारत रे रुक्मवर्ण विप्रसु महाप्रभु नामे नदिया माताय महाप्रभु नामे नदिया माताय संगे भाई अवधू हे मन दुर्मति संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी नंदसूत जी ने चैतन्य गोसाई नंदसूत जी ने चैतन्य गोसाई निज नाम करीदा तारिलो जगत तुमियो जाइया तारिलो जगत तुमियो जाइया लहो निज परित्राण हे मन दुर्मति संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी से कथा सुनिया आसिया छे नाथ से कथा सुनिया आसिया छे नाथ तुम्हारा चरण तले भक्ति विनोद कांदिया कांदिया भक्ति विनोद कांदिया कांदिया आपण काही निबले आपण काही निबले हे बाल दुर्मति संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी हे मन दुर्मति संसार भीतरे पड़िया छीनु आमी पड़िया छीनु आमी। श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय हो। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ट्रांसलेशन प्रभु जी मेरे पास यहाँ पे हिंदी में है तो मैं जरा हिंदी में पढ़ती हूँ प्रभु जी।
ओके।
हाँ। हे नाथ, मैं एक पापी हूँ तथा इस भौतिक संसार में गिर गया हूँ, परंतु आपने अहेतुक की कृपावश एक महापुरुष को जो कि आपको अतिशय प्रिय है मेरे उद्धार हेतु भेज दिया है। उन्होंने मुझे ऐसी पतितावस्था में देखकर दयावश मेरे पास आकर कहा, हे पतितात्मा, मेरे इन हितकारी शब्दों को सुनो, इनको सुनने से तुम्हारा हृदय हर्षित होगा। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु आपका उद्धार करने के लिए ही नवद्वीप में अवतरित हुए हैं। उन्होंने आपके ही जैसे अनेकानेक पतित एवं पापियों का भौतिक संसार से उद्धार कर दिया है। वेदों की वाणी को सत्य करने हेतु वे स्वर्णिम क्रांति धारण करके नवद्वीप में ब्राह्मण के पुत्र रूप में प्रकट हुए हैं। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य तथा उनके भाई नित्यानंद ने नदिया के समस्त लोगों को पवित्र नाम के जप से आप्लावित कर मदोमत कर दिया है। भगवान चैतन्य कृष्ण से अभिन्न है, जो कि नंद महाराज के पुत्र है। उन्होंने संपूर्ण विश्व के लोगों का उद्धार अपना पवित्र नाम वितरित करके कर दिया। आपको चाहिए कि आप उनकी शरण में जाओ और उनसे अपने उद्धार की भिक्षा मांगो। हे नाथ, इन शब्दों को सुनने के पश्चात मैं आपके चरण कमलों के निकट आया हूँ। अतः श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर रोते रोते अपनी कथा भगवान से कहते हैं। हरे कृष्णा। श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय हो। हरि बोल। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वंडरफुल सेवा।
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much for the nice kirtana. I welcome all the devotees to today's session. And let us start today's class, starting with the invocation prayers, Guru Pranam and others. Just a second. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Giriti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarini Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवाञ्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Now we will offer our obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. Namo Mahapadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratisane Namaha. O most magnificent incarnation, you are Krishna himself appearing as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden color of Srimati Radharani and you are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Krishna Varnam Tisa Krishnam Sangopangostra Parsadam Yagya Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Sumedasaha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Nana Shastra Vicharana Ke Nipunam Sadharma Sanstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Trivavane Manya Saranya Karau Radha Krishna Padara Vindha Vajanam Anandena Taliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Ragujugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing, studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the divine couple Sri Radha and Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. With this, let us start with the today's class. Today's class is lesson 24. Before we start with lesson 24, I will give out the synopsis of last class held, that is lesson 23. This was to be given by Samta Mataji, but today she is having fever and bad throat. That's why she is not here. I'll give out the synopsis in very brief. In lesson 23, we heard the answers of Babaji to the 15 questions asked by Brajanatha. The first question, what are the activities done by the soul in Maya's prison? Describe these actions. We have said that the soul, that is the conditioned soul, he stays in the prison houses of Maya. He is asking what are the various actions he does in the prison house. Now, in answer, Babaji Mahashaya, he is saying that he has got two actions. One is to enjoy material pleasures, and the second is to avoid or negate the sufferings due to being conditioned. Now, in this, in the category of enjoying material pleasures, in this Stula Sarira, that is the gross material body which is covering the soul, it has 6 stages of existence. Hunger, thirst, and other desires are part of his nature, and eating, sleeping, all these things are part of his material pleasure, and he thinks he is enjoying. And the second thing is to avoid or negate the suffering due to being conditioned. Because of his material needs, the soul who is in the gross material body, he suffers. He suffers for hunger, thirst, and he struggles to get food, drink, and he labors day and night to earn money. And to drive away the cold, he collects clothing like this. To maintain his family and his descendants, and he continues to labor hard day and night, and constantly tossed around by the 6 waves of lust, anger, greed, bewilderment, pride, and envy. He engages in fighting, argument, violence, tormenting others, stealing, cruelty, false pride, like this. And then the next question, had Maya only covered the soul with the subtle body, that is the Linga Sarira, won't that have been enough? Now to this, the question is no. Without just with just a Linga Sarira, one cannot perform actions. He has to have a Stula Sarira, or the gross body, which is necessary for actions, because the various desires are created in the Linga Sarira, and as per his desires, he gets the next birth and appropriate Stula Sarira. Then the next question was, what is the relationship between the actions and the results they bring? Now, the answer is the Karma Mimamsa was discussed in very great detail. The individual spirit soul and the super soul, they are like 2 friendly birds sitting on 2 branches on the same tree. And one of them, the individual soul who is atomic in nature, he enjoys eating the fruit, while the other, who is the super soul, instead of eating the fruit, simply watching his friend, he is watching when he is going to look at me. He is ready to help, but the conditioned soul, he is not ready to take help of the super soul. This is in the Svetasvatara Upanishad. Then the next question, why is there no comment on the Apurva? Why did you say that karma has no beginning? Now, we have to understand that all karma, that is fruitive actions, they originated from material desires, which is rooted in one's ignorance. and karma has no beginning because it occurs beyond material time. And then the next question was, what is the difference between Maya and ignorance? Now to the answer Babaji Mahasaya gave, Maya is also Krishna's potency by which he created this material world to purify the souls who are rebellious to Krishna. It has got two features, avidya or ignorance, and pradhana or the primordial form of matter. Now, avidya directs her efforts to the individual souls, and pradhana directs its efforts to inanimate matter. Now, from pradhana, the material universes are manifested. Then the next question was, what does pradhana do? It manifests the Pancha Mahabhuta and the Tanmatras of the five sense objects. This was the most difficult or complex part of the class that day. I'll describe this in some detail. Now, first, the Supreme Personality of Godhead employs his glance and time, eternal time, to agitate pradhana, in which the three modes are in a dormant state. Then what happens? Then Mahattva, in which the three modes are there, they get activated. And when time agitates avidya or ignorance, jnana or knowledge of the impersonal and karma and fruitive action, and then from karma comes sattva and rajaguna, and jnana or knowledge and kriya or action. Now, false ego from which manifest the five tanmatras, the intelligence, and then sound, touch, then the features of false ego are three of them. That is the Vaikarika, that is in the mode of goodness, material objects are manifested. In the mode of passion or tejas, then the 10 material senses are manifested, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and the eyes, nose, tongue, and skin, and the 5 working senses, and the tamas or ignorance. And then thereafter, what happens? The fourth thing is the sky or ether that perceives the quality of sound, then air in which the sound and touch is perceived, then fire in which are manifested from touch and sound, and water by the transformation created in water or taste, form, touch and sound, and finally earth in which the fragrance, taste, form, touch and sound. That means as they become grosser and grosser, all the previous elements they are present. Then the next question was, in human body of 7 sperms, what part is the subtle body and what part is the gross body, and where the body does the spirit soul reside? Now this was explained in 3 parts. First is the gross body of the Stula Sarira, second was the subtle body of the Linga Sarira, and third was the spirit soul of the Jiva. Now the gross body is made of Pancha Mahabhuta, of the 5 gross elements. And then the subtle body is made up of mind, heart, intelligence, and false ego. And the spirit soul, the individual spirit soul is of atomic size, but being conditioned, he falsely thinks that this material body is I only, himself. The soul exists in a dimension beyond time and space. Though situated in the heart, its consciousness pervades the entire body. Then the next question was, if by his action, that is karma, the individual soul creates his own pleasures and suffering, then what does the Supreme Personality of Godhead do? Now the individual soul is the immediate cause, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, he is the ultimate cause. This was the answer. Then through what different stages of life do the souls imprisoned by Maya pass? Now, the 5 stages were discussed: achadita or covered consciousness, then retracted consciousness, then budding consciousness, then blossoming consciousness, and fully blossomed consciousness. and which souls are in the stage of covered consciousness? To this, the answer given was the souls who reside in the bodies of trees, grass, stones, they are in the stage of covered consciousness. Then the next question was which souls are in the stage of retracted consciousness? The animals, birds, snakes, fish, and the other water creatures, worms, insects, they are in this category. Then the last question was which souls are in the stage of budding consciousness? The human displaying three stages of consciousness, that is the budding consciousness, blossoming consciousness, and fully blossomed consciousness. In budding consciousness, there are two categories: the immoral atheist because of ignorance or improper knowledge, and the second, the atheists who follow moral principles. And then the next, blossoming consciousness are those who believe in God and they follow moral principles, and those engaged in sadhana bhakti. They come under the category of blossoming consciousness. And finally, the fully blossomed consciousness, these are the people in bhava bhakti. So with this, let us go on to lesson 24. Let me share my slides. Now here we see we have already gone through 21 and 20, 21, 22, 23. Now today is 24th, and this weekend we'll be seeing, we'll be learning about 25 and 26 also. Now here we'll be discussing today about the Mukta Jiva, or the souls freed from Maya's conditioning. They are totally freed, they are liberated. About them we will be studying. Please remember that like the last time, today also we will be studying very difficult concepts. That's why I will request all of you to be more careful, vigilant, and attentive in listening. As already said, lesson 24, chapter 17, 15 questions will be discussed. Question 101, 200, and 115. Next slide. Now here in this question, lesson 24, there are 4 themes. The themes are Brajanathan's cousin, vicious, Benny Madhavan's crookedness, what he wanted to do, and how finally he died of snake bite because of Vaishnava Aparadha, that we will learn, and how Babaji characterized him as a Brahma Rakshasa. Brahma Rakshasa means, as you know, he is a ghost of a Brahmin who commits grave sins during his lifetime. It is believed to be most powerful ghost, and it is very difficult to get rid of it. People also believe that they have certain powers and can bless other people on whom they become happy. And this Babaji's comment on him. And then question 101 to 105. How does the soul gain liberation from Maya's prison, and what are its signs? How do we know that one has gained freedom, that is, one is liberated? And what happened then in theme 3, that is theme 9, the third theme in today's class, we'll see the answers to questions 106 to 109. They are what are the pious deeds that enable the soul to attend sadhu sangha followed by devotional service. Like earlier also we have already studied in so many courses that sadhu sangha is the most important thing, and it starts with Adho Shraddha Tatha Sadhu Sangha Bhajan Kriya Nartha Nivrutti, like this. And Sadhu Sangha is most important. He is asking what are the pious deeds one should have done to attend Sadhu Sangha. We will discuss in great detail. And then finally in theme 10, the questions 110 to 115 will be answered, in which we will see what are the souls anarthas, and among the 5 kinds of souls imprisoned by Maya, which devotees gain freedom, and what are the different kinds of souls who are freed from Maya's prison. So all these very, very important things we will see. Now, let us see Prajanatha's cousin, Vicious Benimadhav's crookedness. Now, Prajanatha's old grandmother had been thinking how to have him agree for marriage, because he was not agreeing at all to get married. He wanted to become a sannyasi only. But he had already made up his mind to become a sannyasi because of his association with and surrender to Sri Raghunath Das Babaji. Just about that time, Venimad arrived with a marriage proposal from his cousin Vijay Vidyaratna for his daughter. And Venimadhava immediately reassured the grandmother that she may make arrangements for the marriage. He was very, very sure that he will be able to convince Brajanath to get married. But everybody knew that he had been going to Srivasangana every day, and that's why by the teachings of Raghunath Das Babaji he was influenced, and he tried to become a sannyasi. And what actually happened, whether he got married or he became sannyasi, we will see it much later. Let us go to the next part of the story. Now, Venimadhava was short, short height with short neck. He had a dark complexion and blinking eyes. If you know that somebody has got these qualities, then he is a very difficult person, and he must be very cunning. And he started many things, but he never brought any of them to completion. He was known to another person exactly. He was a cheater with a forked tongue, meaning such people say one thing to one and another thing to the other person. And when he learned that Brajanatha had no plan to marry but to renounce, Venimadhava reassured him that he would carry his danda and water pot. And the exact opposite reassurance he had given earlier to the grandmother. He had Brajanatha disclosed all about the Babaji and the renunciation plan. Because Brajanatha was very simple-minded, simple-hearted. He had disclosed everything, and very cunningly he decided on a strategy to exploit Brajanatha's weakness point to his personal advantage. And in the last class, we know that he had made Babaji also secretly, which Brajanath had come to know. Then what happened? Venimadhav quickly went to Babaji. Inwardly in his heart, he blasphemed such elevated Vaishnava sannyasis who always chanted the holy name. But outwardly he presented himself as a Brahmana's son, even though Venimadhava was very emphatically not a Vaishnava, nor did he understand the proper etiquette of how a Vaishnava, how one should approach a Vaishnava. He didn't know this. Now the elderly Babaji, of course, realized immediately that what he saw was Kali Yuga personified in the form of a Brahmana's son, and sure enough, Venimadhava would hardly wait to begin blaspheming Brajanatha in front of the Babaji. He then went back to Brajanatha and lied to him all about the Babaji. But Brajanatha knew well that Venimadhava was a double-hearted, evil person. He could understand his crookedness and the reason for speaking favorably about the sannyasa. Now, the Babaji characterized Venimadhava as a Brahma Rakshasa. According to the scriptural declaration, in Kali Yuga, Rakshasas take birth in the families of Brahmanas. This is very, very important statement. Now then, let us go on to the next slide. Now, the theme 8, how does the soul gain liberation from Maya's prison and what are its signs? Now, the first question in this series 101, how is the soul released from Maya's prison? We have learned that the conditioned souls, they are put in the Maya's prison. This material world is a prison. We all are in the prison, whether we accept or not. We the conditioned souls, because we have not been liberated, we are in the prison house of Maya Devi, and how he is to be released, that is what is the question. Now, this is given in the Dasamula Tattva verse 7. Now, when a soul who is wandering from one species to another, we learned earlier there are 8.4 million species, and one is wandering from one to the other. And that's how, when a soul is wandering from one species to another in the material world, sees a Vaishnava filled with the nectar of devotion to Lord Hari, not anybody else, but somebody who is devoted to Lord Krishna, Lord Hari, he becomes attracted to follow that Vaishnava. That means meeting the Vaishnava is very, very important in one's life. And that's how he changes, we'll know. Then by chanting the holy name of Krishna, that soul gradually renounces materialism. And in the end, he regains his original spiritual form. We all have our spiritual forms, but we do not know them. But when we progress in the path of devotional service, when we chant the name of Krishna, and Krishna is very much pleased with us, then not only that he will take us to his own kingdom, that is Golok Vrindavana or Vaikuntha, but we will also be in our original spiritual form. And in that form, he enjoys the pure and sweet nectar of the spiritual mellows of direct service to Krishna. And in that pure spiritual, original spiritual form, that conditioned soul who was a conditioned soul earlier, he will start rendering service to Lord Krishna, and he will enjoy the nectar of spiritual mellows, all the spiritual mellows. Actually, in our material words, we cannot describe those spiritual mellows. And whatever proficiency we may have, but still then it is insufficient to describe them. And the next question is, what is the Vedic evidence in support of these truths? When he was told about this, he said, what is the evidence? And we have seen this evidence earlier also. This is given in both Mundaka Upanishad and Svetasvatara Upanishad. Although the two birds, the super soul and the individual soul, which we spoke earlier, they are in the same tree. The eating bird, that is the individual soul, is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness, is the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. But if in some way or the other he turns his face to his friend with the Lord, Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna, who is looking at him, he is just sitting in front, but this bird who is eating the fruit, he is not able to see him. And by seeing him, he will know his glories. And at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxiety. Now, what is being said that since we want to enjoy this material world, we are faced with anxieties and moroseness and all sorts of troubles. And if we turn toward the Lord, we take his name, we mix with the sadhus, and that is sadhu sangha, and follow all the principles given in the Shastras, and then the Lord will look at us and we'll be able to see the Lord, and all our anxieties will go away forever. And then the next question was, do these words describe liberation? What we describe, does that mean liberation? Now, liberation, the Babaji Mahasaya is saying, yes, but limited only in the sense of being freed from Maya's prison. Only that much. To attain liberation, meaning retaining its original spiritual glory, one must practice sadhu sangha. that means liberation is not complete. Even if one is released from the Maya Devi's prison house, still then one has to practice sadhu sangha. With sadhu sangha, the further development will come. Now, then the next point is liberation is the permanent situation of the form of the living entity after he lives his changeable gross and subtle material body. That means one has to leave both his bodies, shed his gross body and material body. Now, in material life, what is happening? We after one lifetime, we are shedding only the material body. The same gross body, the same subtle body of the Linga Sarira, it is being passed on to the next body. But when one gains the original spiritual form, then both these bodies are burned, and what is there, everything is spiritual then. Then the soul leaves the material body and goes to the effulgent supreme personality of Godhead. The soul then regains its original spiritual form, and in that form, he enjoys many pastimes, eating and playing with the supreme personality of Godhead. This is given in the Chandogya Upanishad, and as proved in Srimad Bhagavatam, as we see the Gopal, the coward boys of Vrindavana, they used to eat with Krishna, they used to play with Krishna, they used to spend all their life with Krishna, and for them the only matter was Krishna only and nothing else. That will also happen to us if we are liberated and when we get our original spiritual body. Now, then Babaji Mahasaya is saying, when the soul is released from Maya's prison, at the moment he is at once liberated. However, when he is thus situated in his original form, the soul begins to perform endless series of spiritual activities, no material activities at that time. And the soul's first need is to perform these activities. However, beyond that, liberation brings with it spiritual bliss. And spiritual bliss, as I was saying, it cannot be described only by our material intelligence or by material words. It can be known only by experiencing, and that can be experienced only in the spiritual body. And the next question was, what are the signs that show one has been released from Maya's prison? We are saying when the soul is released from Maya's prison, he is liberated. But what are the signs he is asking? Now, Babaji Mahasaya is giving that there are 8 signs described in the Chandogya Upanishad. That means one should seek a soul. One is who is free from sins. That means he is totally free from sins. He is totally free from old age, death, lamentation, hunger, thirst, who desires truth. Those thoughts are fixed on the truth. That means once one has been totally released from Maya's prison and he has become liberated, these are the various signs which are seen. He will not become old, he will not lament, he will not go for food because he has no hunger and thirst, and he desires to see the truth only. And as we know, he is totally sinless. All the sins are burnt into ashes, and he is totally free from all these. These are the various signs. Then let us go on to the next slide, slide number 6. Now, how does the soul gain liberation from Maya prison and what are the signs? This we are discussing. Now, Brajanatha is asking, by practicing impersonal speculation, Ashtanga Yoga, or the other auspicious deeds, doesn't at once, at the end of attain devotional service to Lord Hari. That means he is asking, if one practices Ashtanga Yoga, or the other auspicious actions, then can he attain devotional service? Now, one word about Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga means yama, means moral codes, niyama, the self-discipline, asana, the postures, pranayama, breath control, pratyahara, sense withdrawal, dharana, concentration, dhyana, meditation, and finally samadhi or oneness with the self. Rajanath is asking whether if somebody does this, like you would be seeing in news or TV, and there are so many people who practice this also. But with this, can they attend devotional service to Lord Hari? Now, the answer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Lord Krishna, is telling Uddhava in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. He is saying, my dear Uddhava, by associating with my pure devotees, one can destroy one's attachment for all objects of material sense gratification. We, the conditioned souls, we are hankering for material attachment. We have got attachments for material sense gratification. And the Lord is saying it can be removed, it can be destroyed by sadhu sangha only, associate with my pure devotees. Such purifying association brings me under the control of my devotee. That means if one reaches that stage, then the Lord comes under the control of the devotee. He will obey whatever the devotee tells him. He then becomes an obedient servant of that devotee. The devotee has got that power, and one may perform the Ashtanga Yoga system, engage in philosophical analysis of the elements of material nature, that is Sankhya, or practice non-violence and other ordinary principles of piety, chant the Vedas, perform penances, take to the renounced order of life, execute sacrificial performance, dig wells, plant trees, perform other public welfare activities, give in charity, carry out severe vows, worship the demigods, chant confidential mantras, visit holy places, or accept major and minor disciplinary injunctions. But even by performing such activities, one does not bring me under his control. That means to bring the Lord under one's control, one has to do only one thing, that is associate with the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord. Then what will happen? All the good qualities in those devotees, they will percolate to this person who is practicing devotional service. And finally, what will happen? The Lord will come under his control. This is what the Lord himself is saying. That's why this sadhu sangha is so important. And what is given in Haribhakti Suddhadoy, serial 2, association is very important. It acts just like a crystal stone, which will reflect anything which it puts before. If you put anything before that, that will be reflected. Similarly, if we associate with the flower-like devotees of the Lord, and if our hearts are crystal clear, then certainly the same action will be there. That means the same good qualities will percolate into the one who is performing this devotional service. That means this association with the devotee is so very important. But we have to understand that our hearts should be clear. We should not be crooked. We should be following what our previous acharyas have taught us, what our spiritual master has told us to practice. And there should be no duplicity. The heart should be totally clear. And the third thing is association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage. But the same type of association performed with a saintly person leads to a path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge, even if somebody does not know, but associates with a saintly person and tries to satisfy him, satisfy his senses, then one will be benefited. Then the next point, point number 4, unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. That means we have to smear our bodies with the dust from the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. This is the only thing we have to do. And only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, in this way we can be freed from material contamination. But please remember that literally this may not be possible to do. So you keep on trying to find out where is the dust from it, Vaishnava, and I have to get the dust. That one should smear his body. That means he has to associate with a devotee, follow his instructions, and follow the instructions of the spiritual master. This one should do. And if somebody does this, then the Lord will be very, very happy and he will come under the control of this devotee. Then the next point, which is also given in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, no one can deny that there are holy places, sacred rivers, or that the demigods appear in deity forms made of earth and stone, but these purify the soul only after a long time. But whereas saintly persons purify just by being seen. That means if somebody says you live on the banks of sacred river like Ganges and like this, they cannot, they will be purify him, but that will take a very long, long time. Somebody says, I will go on Tirtha Yatra, go to the holy places, but he has to go for a very long period of time, maybe many lifetimes. But what about a pure devotee? If you just see him, see a pure devotee, then you are totally purified. This is what is the greatness of a pure devotee. Then the sixth point is when the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, O Achyuta, he may attain the association of your devotees. And when he associates with them, there awakens in him devotion unto him, who are the goal of the devotees and the Lord of all causes and effects. This is also given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 51st chapter. Basically, what is being said, we have to associate with devotees. Here again and again, all the points, what is being given, associate with the devotees, and the Lord will come, will be controlled by that devotee. That is what is being said. Let us go on to the next slide. Next slide. This is theme 9. Now, theme 9 is question number 106 to 108. What are the pious deeds that enable the soul to attain sadhu sangha followed by devotional service? We spoke of associating with the sadhu, but the question is, now what are the pious deeds one has to do to attain this sadhu sangha? Let us go to the questions and answers. Question number 106. What are the pious deeds that lead to attaining sadhu sangha? Are they not karma, the Vedic rituals, and jnana, or impersonal speculation? Now the answer is two kinds of pious deeds are there that bring devotional service. These pious deeds which bring devotional service, and the pious deeds that bring useless results. We saw in the previous slide, like digging up wells, giving water to the people, doing this social service like this, all this, but they do not land oneself in the association of the devotees. There, they give useless results, which include regular or occasional Vedic duties, Sankhya philosophy, and impersonal speculation. One enjoys their results, and thereafter they are gone in no time. Now, sadhu sangha, what one is required to do? One is required to do sadhu sangha, that is associate with elevated devotees, observe Ekadasi, observe Janmashtami, Gaur Purnima, and the other holy festivals that instill devotion in persons observing them, worshipping Tulasi Devi, worshipping the Lord in his temple, honoring Mahaprasadam, visiting holy places like Vrindavan, Mathura, like this, and seeing, touching the devotees, all bring the result of devotional service. Therefore, we should think whether we are doing all these activities or not. If we are doing, then we are on the right lines. Then one may ask here, Ram Navami is not there. Are we supposed to observe Ram Navami? Yes, as we have already discussed, in Tattva there is no difference between the Lord Rama or Lord Krishna. We should follow the Ram Navami also. Like all these festivals which we follow in ISKCON, we are required to follow them. And the most important, which comes twice in a month, is the Ekadasi. This we should remember. Then the next question was, if a person is tormented by the troubles of material life, flees from material illusion and intelligently takes shelter of illusion, takes shelter of Lord Hari's feet, will he not attend devotional service? Now the answer is, if he intelligently understands that his sufferings are all caused by Maya and that the entire material world is by nature inauspicious, and that only the shelter is the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Sadhu Sangha, which is the lifeline of devotional service, then it is all right. If somebody wants just to live the material life just like that, and that is under illusion, he wants to live, that is not correct. This point also we have discussed earlier many times. That means one should understand that I have to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and indulge in sadhu sangha, then all the causes of Maya will go away. Then the next question is 108. What is the objection to saying that karma or the pious deeds, jnana, the impersonal speculation, vairagya or renunciation, and viveka, that is the ability to understand what is auspicious and what is not. They are secondary means to that also help one attend devotional service. Now to this question, Babaji Mahasaya answer that the object is that this means bring results that are trivial and useless. By karma, jnana, vairagya, viveka, whatever the results one get, they are trivial and useless. They are of no use. After giving the soul material pleasures, pious deeds go away. Hine punyam mrutilakam visanti. And that means when one goes to the kingdom of the demigods, after he spends all his past deeds, he has to fall back. Now, renunciation and viveka lead to impersonalism, which in turn tends to cheat the soul of the opportunity to attain the Lord's lotus feet. Therefore, that is of no use at all. And what is to be done then? Then sadhu sangha inevitably brings one to pure love of God. That's why the most important feature is sadhu sangha. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ears and the heart. And by cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. And thereafter, he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. then real devotion and devotional service begins. This is given in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. That means here also again the association with the pure devotee, that is given so much of importance. Now let us go on to the next slide. Now here question number 109. What are the pious deeds that enable the soul to attain sadhu sangha, followed by devotional service? Now please go through the numberings 1 to 3. Now one is faith in pure devotional service creates the desire for sadhu sangha. We have said, rather, Rupa Goswami has said in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Adau Shraddha. The beginning is Shraddha only. And how much Shraddha is complete Shraddha, 100% Shraddha. And that brings what? That brings desire for sadhu sangha. And at the basal level of faith, that will gradually deepen along the path as we proceed forward, and that will become more and more. Then what is there? The second point is sadhu sangha. Should he pursue these activities with a desire for jnana karma? He will not attain devotional service. However, a person's innocence, in his desire to pursue the path with such desirable goals and exception. Now, by destiny, a wandering soul from birth to birth may encounter by chance one of the limbs of devotional service, that is meeting with a sadhu, and that sets up a chain of events. Now let us go on to point 3. Point 3 is gradual engagement in sadhu sangha, then bhakti and bhajan kriya. Now once it has, the process has started, one should continuously get engaged in sadhu sangha, sadhana bhakti and bhajan kriya. That is taking the name of the Supreme Lord. And then comes anartha nivritti state, serial 4. Anartha nivritti, a gradual retirement of unwanted desires. All the unwanted desires, they will go after a period of time only, not immediately. And one attains pure faith, and this purity keeps on deepening. That means the faith gets strengthened here in this stage only. In other stages, it is still weak in nature. Then serial 5, ruchi, or attraction to the beauty of the Lord. Then one gets attracted to the Supreme Lord's beauty. And now we may be seeing the Supreme Lord in his beautiful form, but we are not so much attracted. It is because we have not passed through this stage. Then the 6th is asakti, or attachment to the Lord. That means the person, he will not be able to keep himself away from the Lord even for a moment. One attains pure devotional faith, then when fully manifested, one becomes totally pure, his faith becomes pure. Then the next serial 7 is bhava, or bhakti, or ecstatic love for the Lord. And then the next thing is rasa, the nectar mellows, a relationship with the Lord. Then thereafter, what happens? There are so many relationships, like the servitude, then the sakhya, vatsalya, madhurya, all these relationships, they become prominent in the person. Now, at whatever stage we are, we may be thinking we are related to the Lord in some way, but that is not coming very naturally. But at this stage, it will come very naturally to the individual. You will feel happy. And then what will happen? Next is prema utpatti, or the arousal of pure love for the Lord. And this will come up, and the root of devotional service is seeing and following pure devotees of the Lord. And the conclusion is, the result is sadhu sangha is the development of faith. And faith is also known as saranagati, or surrender. This is what is the process. But the root, as we saw, is the sadhu sangha. That's why sadhu sangha is very, very important in our devotional service. Let us go on to the next slide. Well, here we'll have a 5 minutes break, and after the break, we'll hear a very, very most important, one of the most important verses from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which we have already heard, but we'll understand it a little better with the commentary here by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Hare Krishna. अरे record झाला. Okay, okay. Welcome back. We'll commence from where we left. We'll go to the next slide. Now, what are the pious deeds that enable the soul to attain sadhu sangha, followed by devotional service? Now, here we will be studying analyzing the Bhagavad Gita verse 18.66 in the context of faith and sadhu sangha. The verse says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. What the Lord is telling us, abandon all varieties of religion. All religion, everything what we are doing, we have to abandon and just surrender unto me means Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and He is assuring us, giving us guarantee that He will deliver us from all sinful reactions and we do not have to fear. Now let us see the explanation. Sarva Dharman means all varieties of religion. It refers to which religion? This Martha Dharma, the rules of Smriti Shastras. Like you hear the terminology, Smarta Brahmanas, the caste Brahmanas in the society, they are not Vaishnavas. All those things which they follow, the Ashtanga Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Jnana, the impersonal speculation. Now you may ask why we are talking of Sankhya Yoga, because Sankhya Yoga was taught by Kapil Muni, Kapil Dev, it is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, then why it has to be renounced? Here Srila Prabhupada, he says that there are two kinds of Sankhya philosophy. One is the ancient Sankhya philosophy, which was taught by Kapil Deva, and the modern Sankhya philosophy taught more recently by the atheist Kapila. Now, Lord Kapila's Sankhya explains how to become detached from matter and search out Lord Vishnu within the heart. Now, this Sankhya is actually a process of devotional service. But the modern Sankhya philosophy, it simply analyzes the material world, various elements, and in that respect, it is like a modern scientific research. That's why this has to be abandoned. We have to remember that. Then what all? Jnana, the impersonal speculation, the jnani, they want to merge with the Lord, this impersonal speculation. Vairagya, renunciation, you have to renounce everything. Actually, there is no requirement to renounce. You have to use everything in the service of the Supreme Lord. And then there is no requirement of following renunciation. And the other likes varieties of religion. None of these kinds of religions fulfill the soul's true spiritual needs. And this is the reason why Bhagavan Sri Krishna recommends abandonment of such religion. That is what generally the worldly people they are following, the jnanis what they are following, the karmis what they are following, and the Ashtanga yogis what they are following, they are required to be abandoned. You don't have to do. Then in Prabhuti Shraddha, that is positive faith, one thinks that Lord Krishna, whose form is the perfection of Satchit Ananda, and who enjoys his pastimes in Braja, is the spirit soul's only goal. Our only goal should be Lord Krishna, who is enjoying his pastimes even today in Brajadham, that is in the Mathura Mandala even today. And this we have to understand. And the third point is, therefore, a complete rejection of material sense gratification, impersonal liberation, and any other non-devotional goals is warranted in favor of unalloyed spiritual love and unconditional surrender to Him. This has to be remembered. And we have to reject all other things. Instead of our own sense gratification, we should try to fulfill the sense gratification of the Supreme Lord. Now, when this kind of faith arises, one becomes the humble follower of a saintly Vaishnava and surrenders unto him as his spiritual master. That means accepting a spiritual master. This verse is also very, very important and very elaborately Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Sartha Varsini Tika, he announces certain things. I will tell you. This totally conforms to what is given in this slide. Then what about our prescribed duties? Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says that you should completely give up all prescribed duties also. Then what about our Nitya Dharma and Naimittika Dharma? This we have studied in very, very great detail. There is time. Yes, there is time. I'll just read a paragraph from Saratha Varsini Tika. This will be more clear. That means finally, yes, Nitya Dharma, Naimittika Dharma, we have to abandon everything. The Lord is saying, previously I have said that you are not qualified for Ananya Bhakti, the highest type of Bhakti, and that you were qualified for Karma Mishra Bhakti. When I said, whatever you do, whatever you eat, do it as an offering to me. But now, by my great mercy, you have qualification for Ananya Bhakti. That Ananya Bhakti can only be attained by the causeless mercy of the Ekantiki Bhakta, that is the devotees, pure devotees. Then, though that is the rule I myself have made, I am now giving the mercy myself, breaking my own vow as I did in the fight with Bhishma. And by following my orders, you should not fear some loss on your part in giving up the Nitya and Naimittika karma. The order to perform these Nitya karmas was given by me in the form of Vedas. Now I am ordering you to give them up completely. Is there a sin in not performing your Nitya karmas? No, rather the opposite. In performing Nitya karmas, you will commit sin because of disobeying my direct order. That means we have to follow only this, what is said by the Supreme Lord in the Bhagavad Gita in this verse. And that's why this verse is so very important. We have to abandon all things. We have to set aside everything which follows the rules of the Smriti Shastra, the Ashtanga Yoga, or Jnana Marga, or Vairagya, or anything. All these things we have to abandon and follow what is being said by the Supreme Lord. Then let us go on to the next slide. Yes, question number 110. What are the soul's anarthas? Now, this is very, very important. Please go through the numbers 1, 2, 3. I'll go through them in serial. Now, Swarupa Aprapti, or things that prevent one from reviving one's original spiritual nature. Now, regarding this, what is the anartha? Forgetting I am pure spirit soul and a servant of Krishna. Jiber Swarupa hai, Krishna Nitya Das. We should not ever forget that thing. We are always Krishna's servant, and we are not the owners, we are not the enjoyers. Lord Krishna is the enjoyer, he is the owner of everything. But he has given all these things for us to be in this material world, to practice devotional service. Now the imprisoned soul goes far away from his original spiritual nature when he thinks that other than that I am the spirit soul and the servant of Krishna. This is very, very important. And the second is asat trishna, or thirst for material things. And this is of three kinds. False ego of I and mine. This thing is mine, this is I am here, I am there, like this, using the words I and me, mine, this. results into thirst for pursuing material happiness. They result in going after material happiness, material desires. They come in and they get strengthened. And they are of three types: desire for good children and descendants, desire for wealth, desire to reside in the heavenly planets, that is in the Swargaloka. And this is the Asat Trishna. Then the third is aparadha or offenses, the 10 kinds that the Babaji will describe later. We are not speaking about, talking about that. Then Hridaya Daurlabhya or weakness of the heart. What is the weakness of the heart? That means the heart is prone to lamentation and a host of other problems. He wants to attain something. When he is not able to attain, and then the lamentation is there. And then the next is, okay, okay, practice the 4 parts of yoga. Before that, sadhu sangha and cultivation of Krishna consciousness, the easier path gradually allow retirement from all these 4 kinds of anarthas. We spoke of the four types of anarthas: Swarupa Prapti, Asat Sangha, then Aparadha, and the 4th is Hridaya Dwalabhya. And how, what is the antidote for that? The antidote for that is Sadhu Sangha only. Sadhu Sangha and cultivation of Krishna consciousness, that is the easier path. And we should follow that path. And Sadhu Sangha and cultivation of Krishna consciousness gradually allows retirement from all these 4 kinds of anarthas. Retirement from anarthas and materialism, relatively, it is much easier to follow, and the original form of the soul is spontaneously manifested. One doesn't have to work hard, and the practice of the 4 parts of a yoga is not easy. It is problematic or easily lead to final goal. That is the Ashtanga Yoga, Pratyahara, like all the things we have, all the Yama, Niyama, and all these things. They are not the things to be followed, because that is a much laborious process, and ultimately reach the goal, but it takes a lot of time. But what is the easier path? As we learned, it is the Sadhu Sangha or the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, which is much easier, simple, and very less things to follow, and no lamentation in that, no issues in that. That's why we should understand that Sadhu Sangha is everything. Then let us go on to the next slide. Now, question number 111. Should persons free from anartha be called liberated? That means once you have crossed the stage of anartha nivritti, can somebody be called liberated? Now, let us answer to this question as given by Babaji by giving the various examples from the Shastra. Now, in the material world, there are many living entities as atoms. Among these living entities, and very few are human beings, and among them, few are interested in following the religious principles given in Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 14th chapter. Now, what is happening? As we know, 8.4 million life forms. In that life forms, the human beings are very less in number. But out of them, very few are interested in following what is given in the Shastras, following the religious principles. Then the next point, west of Brahmanas, Sukadeva Goswami, out of many persons who follow religious principles, only a few desire liberation from the material world. And amongst many thousands who desire liberation, one may actually achieve liberation, giving up material attachment to society, friendship, love for country, home, wife, children. And amongst many thousands of such liberated persons, one who can understand the true meaning of liberation is very rare, given in the same 6th canto, 14th chapter. This is very important to understand. that say person, liberated person is extremely rare. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated and perfect in knowledge of liberation, one may be a devotee of Narayana or Krishna. Such devotees who are peaceful are extremely rare. Earlier we came to know to become liberated it is rare, and after liberation, becoming the devotee of Lord Narayana, Lord Krishna, they are the same thing. Same, it is very, very rare. That means the devotee of Lord is most important. That's why if you have if you come across a pure devotee, that is the best thing you can expect in your whole lifetime. And then question number 112. Does the word Vaishnava refer only to a Vaishnava who has renounced family life? The word Vaishnava refers to a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. He has to be a pure devotee. He may be either a Grihastha or a sannyasi, a Brahmana or a Chandala, that is an outcast, wealthy or poverty stricken, etc. To be a Vaishnava, all that matters is that he is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. Being a pure devotee is most important. This is what is given. Then let us go on to the next slide. Theme 10, question number 113. One of the 5 kinds of souls which are released from Maya's prison. Now, what are these? From the moment the soul's devotional service begins, he is set only in a preliminary stage of freedom. That is a preliminary stage only. The final stage of release is possible only when his devotion to the Lord has reached its maturity. At that stage, maturity, and not at the beginning stage of Bhava Bhakti, he is set to dissipate both his Sthula and Linga Sariras and become situated in his original spiritual form. That means at the mature stage. Then the second point is forgetfulness of Krishna is the root cause of the soul's being offensive. Without the mercy of the Lord, the soul is not excused of his offenses and thus cannot be released from Maya's prison. The faith that by cultivation of impersonal speculation one gains liberation is an illusion and not a fact. That's why we have to become a devotee of the Supreme Lord Krishna. O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. This is given in the 10th canto, 2nd chapter. And also in the next verse it is given, O Madhava, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord of the Goddess of Fortune, if devotees completely in love with you sometimes fall from the path of devotion, that do not fall like non-devotees. This is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Or you still protect them. Thus they fearlessly traverse the heads of their opponents and continue to progress in devotional service. But this does not mean that you commit mistakes. If inadvertently something has been committed, then you should ask for pardon from the Supreme Lord, and it is being assured that it will be done. That he is going to pardon. And question number 114. What are the different kinds of souls free from Maya's prison? There are 2. One is Nityamukta, then second are the Baddhamukta. Nityamukta means the souls who were never placed in Maya's prison. And there are 2 types. The Aishwarya Gata, or the souls who appreciate the Lord's feature of opulence, because and the personal associates of the Lord Narayana, the master of Vaikuntha. These devotees, they go to Vaikuntha. Then Madhurya Gata, the souls who appreciate the Lord's feature of sweetness. Now the personal associates of the Supreme Lord Krishna, in Golak Vrindavana. Then the second, what about the Baddha Jivas? Baddha Mukta, the souls who were at one time imprisoned, but now they are free. There are 3 types: Aishwarya Gata, Madhurya Gata, and Brahmayatir Gata. Now, Aishwarya Gata, the souls who appreciate the Lord's feature of opulence, those sadhana bhaktas attracted to the Lord's opulence become eternal associates of Lord Narayana in Vaikuntha. And what about the Madhurya Gata souls? Those sadhana bhaktas attracted to the Lord's sweetness after liberation, they enjoy the sweetness in Golok Vrindavan. And what about the Brahma Jyotirgata, the soul situated within the Lord's spiritual affluence? Those sadhana bhaktas attracted to become one with the Lord after liberation attain Brahma Sayudhya Mukti, the liberation of merging with the Lord, which, as you know, the devotees do not like. And the last question of Brajanatha, what is the final destination of the soul who is devotee of Lord Gauranga, Lord Gaurakishar, or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Now, Krishna and Gaurakishar, as we already know, they are non-different. They both have the features of sweetness, but the different two features of Madhurya Rasa. What are they? Madhurya sweetness, when prominent, he is Krishna. And when Audarya or mercy is prominent, he is known as Gaurakishara or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, the spiritual world of Vrindavana is divided into the various abodes. The abode of Lord Krishna, the residents are eternally perfect and eternally liberated souls who have sweetness first and mercy second. And the residents of those souls who during their Shraddha, sadhana, worship only Lord Krishna at the time of perfection and serve him there. That is in the Golok Vrindavan. Now, the abode of Gaurakishara, the residents of eternally perfect and eternally liberated souls who have mercy first and sweetness second. This is reverse. And these residents of those souls who during their sadhana worship Lord Gaurakishara at the time of perfection and serve him there. They go to that place. And some souls manifest two forms and reside simultaneously in both these abodes, two abodes. Now the residents of those souls who during their sadhana worship both Lord Krishna and Lord Gaurakishara at the same time of perfection and simultaneously serve them there, that is also possible. This is what is said here by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So with this, I finish today's session, today's lesson. Now I will unshare. Now the session is open for questions and answers. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Bhakti Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
If the philosophy behind worship of Gaurachandra and Lord Krishna is different, that means while worshipping Krishna, we worship the sweetness of Lord Krishna, and while worshipping Gaurachandra, we worship the mercy, more giving more importance to mercy. Then why in Gaudiya Vaishnava Paddhati it is advised to worship both? And if we want to worship Sri Krishna Chaitanya, then we are not accepted as Gaudiya Vaishnava.
Okay, that is not the thing. We have actually discussed in so many courses, so many earlier classes. Please remember very basic things. There is no difference between Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. They are the same. Only what we saw here, we said that Lord Chaitanya, those what is the difference? When Madhurya is prominent, then Lord Krishna is manifested. And when Audarya is manifested, or mercy is prominent, then Lord Gaurakishara is manifested. That is what is the difference. And what are the various ways to worship them. This also we have seen our earlier classes. It is exactly the same. The mantras, they are the same. Everything is the same. But these are the two different things in Lord Krishna and Lord Gaurakishora. In Lord Krishna, the sweetness is most prominent. When we see Radha and Krishna, the Madhurya is very, very prominent. But the most merciful incarnation or the Lord in his form as the Gaurakishora is Odarya is important, merciful. And earlier, if you remember, we learned that if you want to go to or attain Krishna, you have to go through Lord Gaurakishora, and that is Lord Chaitanya. And if you want to attain Lord Chaitanya, you have to go through Nityananda. Like this is the process. This is the process, and Charu Prabhuji, I'll request him to say something. Prabhuji, mic is off. Yes.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. You gave a nice answer. But what I would like to add, what Mataji is asking, Dipti Mataji, it's a good question. But it could lead to slight misconception, misunderstanding. Actually, Lord Chaitanya's Audarya, the mercy component, is even more important. Why? Uh, it's not like that what Mataji thought, that if we worship Gaurakishora, Lord Gauranga or Lord Chaitanya, we don't go to Krishna Loka. That's not. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu promotes us because he is showing mercy, tremendous mercy, his greatest gift to the mankind, that in this Kali Yuga, the easiest path and the most doable path is simply chanting the holy name. We go back to the spiritual world, So he's shown a very easy path. So we go, it's not like we don't go. We go to that Krishna Loka, but in Krishna Loka also there are two abodes, there is a Krishna abode is there, abode of Vrindavan Dham, but right there also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's abode. So he promotes people to go back to spiritual world and to spiritual world of Krishna. So that is his greatest mercy. And remember, Krishna, there's a little difference, little minute difference. Krishna shows mercy also. You might say, is not Krishna merciful? Of course he is. He's the ocean of mercy. Karuna Nidhi, it means ocean. But he goes by the book. He requires a lot of things actually. And where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is merciful because his mercy, even those fallen souls of Kali Yuga, okay, he shows mercy. Where Krishna is much more strict, he goes by the book, okay. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even given this mercy to even those most fallen souls, like Madhai, what is it? Madhai and what?
Jagai.
Yeah. So he showed even the most fallen souls like us. We are fallen souls. And he gives us tremendous hope simply chanting the holy name. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, does send us with Krishna actually by showing this greatest mercy. That's why this Audarya, the mercy component, is much more important. And he does send us to Krishna. And that because he is Krishna himself. But he came in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and we all been learned in several courses in Radha Tattva course and everywhere that and Krishna himself says that you don't get my mercy unless until you first approach Srimati Radharani. So Radharani is the personified mercy, and that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, that because he is Krishna himself. He came as in the mood of Srimati Radharani, and Sri Radha is so merciful. She shows mercy to the fallen souls like us, and she recommends us to Krishna, and Krishna listens to her. Radha says, Sri Radha says that this person, you ought to look it up again. Don't go by his shortfalls, that he's fallen. Don't go by that, because he is really, really aspiring for your mercy. And that is what Radha. So Radha is more merciful than even Krishna. Krishna is the ocean of mercy. So just imagine she's more merciful, and that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we must have a very clear conception. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Audarya, don't underestimate that. And he does send us to Krishna. That is what he came in this Kali Yuga as his own devotee to show us the right way to performing our devotional service and the easiest path. And he is merciful again. I'm repeatedly telling you, especially for the fallen souls. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, any other next question?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Okay, somebody wants to talk?
Yes,
Okay,
Prabhuji,
go
you
ahead.
can proceed,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
go ahead, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Danda Pranam, Prabhuji. So great session today's lesson it was, Prabhuji. And yes, could feel Srila Prabhupada's books, how much sense he tries to give through his books. And yes, whether it has been Madhurya Kadambini, Sri Jaiva Dharma, and etc., all these books, essence is there in Srila Prabhupada's books. Yeah, it's such a great feeling. Prabhuji, my question is, even at Bhava Bhakti stage, uh, as per your explanation in the slide, yes, it is one can get liberation, isn't it? And so, Prabhuji, if devotee doesn't want liberation, but is ending his life, last breath at this stage, so what can be the next gati, Prabhuji?
Okay, there is also very good question. Actually, the devotee doesn't want liberation, but he will still be given liberation, and he will still be given all the opulences, even if he does not want. Because the Lord gives everything to a devotee, even if he does not want. Yes.
Excuse me, please answer why devotees don't want liberation. There's a very important point there.
Okay, the question is why the devotee doesn't want liberation. The devotee wants only one thing: service of the Supreme Lord, life after life. Like you would have seen many the great devotees, they say that, oh my Lord, even if you send me to the hell, give me the power to remember you, to serve you, like this. Because you don't get anything worthwhile by any other thing other than serving the Supreme Lord. And they just want to do the service to the Supreme Lord. That is the thing they want, and not that get liberated and be freed from all the miseries from this material world. They do not want this. Yes, Prabhuji.
So you said it very correctly, very rightly. But what I'm thinking, the devotees don't want liberation, as you just pointed out, because they keep on wanting to serve the Lord. So even after liberation, they want to serve the Lord. But they have a much higher goal than just going to Golok Vrindavan Dham. Devotees have a much higher goal. If the Lord comes to the material world, they want to be part of Lord's entourage and come to the material world and liberate those fallen souls. Like Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada came. Remember, he was already there in Vrindavan, and he was near 70 years old. He didn't have to go anywhere. He was doing great service right there in Vrindavan. But he gave up all that and took a great risk coming to the West to preach Krishna consciousness, and see how many people in the West, those who were womanizers and all kind of drunkards and things like that, he purified them, and many of them actually became spiritual masters in their own right. See how dramatic transformation takes place. So such souls, they don't aim to go to Golok Vrindavan Dham. They just want to serve the Lord. If Lord wants to come here in the material world to save the fallen souls, they come to assist in becoming a part of Lord Shri Krishna, you know. So that is what, and of course, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement, they come in that a sense. So I would consider that these devotees, such high caliber, they sacrifice so many things in their own personal lives just to become part of Shri Krishna, and their goal is much much higher than even goal of Vrindavan Dham. Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhuji. One thing very confidential about Srila Prabhupada, which everybody may not be knowing, I have read it from Gaura Govinda Goswami's book. He says he has revealed to him that he was a gopi, in associate of Krishna in his pastimes. That means the Supreme Lord had sent him to deliver people like us and people in the West. So that is what is his greatness. And he did it so successfully, which nobody can ever think of. And at present, there are more than 1,000 ISKCON temples all over the world, more than 400 in India. So that is his greatness, and we are very, very grateful to him. That's why all these things, they were not available to the general public. After Prabhupada came, then we are learning about these things. So,
Look at we are the grand disciples, you know, and still coming later generations of disciples coming. In US, we see that fourth generation of disciples, and all because of Srila Prabhupada, who came to the West, you know, and then he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. Before it was not there. So these souls are really no ordinary souls. They did not descend to the material world out of karmas like most of us did. Most of us have done that because of our own karmas, you know. But these souls are already not only liberated, but they were pure devotees of the Lord, and they are eternal associates of the Lord in Golok Vrindavan Dham. They come precisely for the sole purpose to uplift those fallen souls in this Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga is going to get worst, 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 and worst in the coming decades or so, you know. In fact, this is period we are living. It is called the golden period of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. Uh, um, you cannot underestimate Mahaprabhu's contribution, and in the line of Mahaprabhu, in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this Gaudiya Sampradaya and all these spiritual masters who are coming, and now the grand spiritual masters and grand disciples like us. Imagine where we would have been if souls like Srila Prabhupada had not descended as part of the entourage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna. They are non-different. That is what his greatest gift, really. Haribol.
thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji, we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is both Srimati Radharani and Krishna. But we do see more him as Srimati Radharani, so as to as compared to Krishna, so as to reach to Krishna. So are we on the right platform?
Exactly.
We do,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to point out that too, you know. Radharani is more merciful than Krishna. Unless she recommends us to Krishna, we cannot Krishna.
Next question.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Prasad.
Krishna, bro. Wonderful class, bro. Wonderful session. Really. So we are all rebellious people kind of thing, bro. So one question, Prabhu. Like there are billions of plants, billions of fishes. If you see ocean, yeah, and there are so many planets as well. So I am not able to digest or understand, Prabhu, with my little mind. This many jivas been rebels against Krishna in Vaikuntha or Goloka.
Yes, like this material world, there are millions and billions, uncounted number of material worlds. But what is the size? The size of the material world is 1/4, and the spiritual world is 3/4. That means major portion is the spiritual world. And all these jivas who are in the billions and billions of universes, once they get liberated, they will still go to the spiritual world, and the spiritual world will not get crowded. And this question was also asked, answered in one of our courses earlier. What will happen if everybody gets liberated and they go to the spiritual world and nobody will be there in the spiritual world? This was also answered because there are enough number of souls which are available for these material worlds. And if you as you know, after some time, after a specific time, this material world will also be destroyed. That's why this creation and destruction, this will carry on, and the activities in the spiritual world, they will also carry on. So, next question. Any other question? I hope I have answered your question, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. So you are saying that's all. Yeah. Okay.
Any other question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Dandavat.
Thank you for so wonderful session Prabhuji. Prabhuji, जीवन मुक्त जो होते हैं तो वो वहां पे रहते हैं, वो लिबरेटेड होते हैं, तो वो उनके एज में डिफरेंस होता है प्रभु जी कि वो वैसे के वैसे ही रहते हैं?
Okay. Okay, like when Krishna came here, he was what? He is always Nitya Kishore, 14, 15 years old. Like this, all his friends, all his associates, they are also similarly, they look like 14, 15-year-old. His parents, Yashoda Mata and Nanda Baba, the other elderly Gopas, they look a little older. This is look only, but their age is only Nitya Kishore. That's how it is said that they never grow old. And there are no diseases, no afflictions. There is no doctor there to go. It is not that they fall ill also at times. No, none of the things which we face in the material world, they are there. They are totally free from all this. And the age is Nitya Kishore. They don't become old in the spiritual world, and they stay forever. There is no death, there is no extinction, there is no destruction of the spiritual world at any point of time. Only the material worlds get destroyed after specific periods of time. I hope I have answered your question, Mataji.
यस प्रभु जी, मगर हम जो जीवात्मा है तो हम कौन से स्टेज तक पहुंच सकते हैं? मुक्त जीव बन सकते हैं हम कभी? मेनी लाइफ टाइम के बाद कभी बन सकते हैं प्रभु जी?
Okay.
Baddha Mukta, we saw that category, right? Because Nitya Mukta, they never become imprisoned in Maya's prison. Whereas we are here, and hopefully we become purified and then become qualified to go back to spiritual world. But that is called Baddha Mukta, versus Nitya Mukta. So we can never be Nitya Mukta because we are already here, so hope is to become free from the prison of Maya. And Mataji, you asked a point about Jivan Mukta. The definition of Jivan Mukta, they are still in the material world. Okay, they still have material body, but Mukta in that sense that been explained in the scriptures and by Prabhupada's purports, that they become Mukta in the sense that the three modes of material nature are no more working, no more affecting, no more influencing their material body. So though they have a material body, but they are become transcendental as long as they are in this world, in this material world. And then it's just that the nice example is given and knowledge is given to properly understand is this lotus plant, lotus flower, lotus plant. It is growing in the muddy water, but the water does not touch the lotus. The lotus leaves are totally, completely, they become so opaque, the water cannot touch. It remains like a droplets and fall back. So these personalities who have, because of the by the dint of their devotional service, they become freed from the Maya's influence, that Maya can no longer bind with her three modes of such souls already liberated. But once they drop this subtle body, they in material body they have, of course, both the Stula Sharira, the gross body, and they also have the Linga Sarira, the Sukshma Sharira. Many times it's also referred to as, or the subtle body, Manobuddhi Ankar, but they are all purified. So after this life, they both drop that bodies and they become, they regain a spiritual form, the eternal form, regain that, and then they go back to spiritual world. And they come, when they come back, they come as the part of the entourage of Lord Shri Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whoever, you know. So the Jivan Mukta means this is their life, last lifetime in this material world. Hare Krishna. They are free of the three modes of material nature. So they are freed from the prison of the Maya, prison of Maya. Hare Krishna. Is that right, Mataji? Raksha Mataji?
यस प्रभु जी। तो प्रभु जी, जो अगर हमें स्पिरिचुअल बॉडी मिलती है तो वो हमें जो मिलती है वो बद्ध जीव के रूप में मिलती है?
No, they become
जब
Baddha
वो
Mukta.
अपनी मुक्ति अगर मिलती है उसके बाद
They become Baddha Mukta. So once they were Baddha, once they were bound, but now they gain freedom. Okay. So now they gain freedom. They earn their freedom. And Prabhuji, with your permission, I just, because we are almost out of time,
Yes,
I
yes.
just make one last point. We have been hearing so repeatedly about the importance of Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha is the lifeline of our devotional life, devotional service, devotional life, So question is, we already learned so many things about Sadhu Sangha, but Sadhu Sangha does not come like accidental. We don't meet sadhus, our spiritual master, accidentally. It's only pre-planned from a previous life. And Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the English translation is Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion, elaborates on that point, that some kind of, some good deeds, and that lot of explanation is given about the deeds also, not the kind of material piety, okay, spiritual piety kind of things that's been spelled out here. And that is Agyata Sakriti, that we must have done, and we must have received the mercy ultimately from previous life. That's why in this life we continue to get that sadhu sangha, and then we progress from the point we left off from a previous life. So one has to remember that we meet sadhus, the saintly personalities, not by any kind of accident or something like that, or by chance. It was from the previous connection, like that. Ultimately, it boils down to Krishna's mercy. His mercy flows through his confidential associates, that he sends them in our lives. Hare Krishna. So we must understand. So we are almost out of time now, Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. We'll conclude today's class with using the prayers. We'll do that. Raksha Mataji.
I can do it if you don't mind.
Yes, Archana Mataji, yes.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahladaine. Prahladaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshah. Hiranyakashipurvakshah. Shilatankalakalaye. Shilatankalakalaye. Ito nasima parato nasima. Ito nasima parato nasima. Yato yato yami tato nasima. Yato yato yami tato nasima. Bahe nasimha hrudaye nasimha. Bahe nasimha hrudaye nasimha. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Narasimha Madim Sharanam Prapade. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakha Adhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanuvringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narasimha Hare Jaya Narasimha Hare Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Lakshmi Devi Bhagwan ki jai, Bhaktaraj Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, His Grace Charu Prabhu ki jai, His Grace Charu Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Then we'll end today's session. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the assembled devotees. Thank you very much for assembling today. And tomorrow at the appointed time, we will have lesson 25. And please remember in lesson 25 also there are very difficult concepts are there. And we'll try to understand them, though we have discussed about them in previous courses also, but we will refresh our memory. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Sharad Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Prabhuji. Dandvat Pranam.
Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji. Well done. Good job.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prasad Prabhuji, Nitya Sakhi Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Nitya Sakhi Mataji.
Yes, yes.
We'll have a short meeting, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, okay?
Yeah.
I just want to address that our PowerPoint preparation and things like that, all right? Haribol.
Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji, again.
Thank you.
Prasad Prabhuji, thank you. Sanjeev Prabhuji, thank you.
Actually, in our last consignment, Nitya Sakhi Mataji had prepared, but somehow it got deleted from the computer. That's why she has not been able to send.
No, I want to address all these things. And
Yes.
Samita Mataji also sent that. But see, the problem, I'm going to address in that meeting, okay? Short meeting.
Okay.
We can have a meeting tomorrow
Tomorrow, yes,
or
after the class.
after the class?
Yes,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.